What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, successors? Y'all, welcome to another episode of Speak Your Success in the Morning. I'm so glad that you all are here with us today. Today is January 23rd, 2025 and 2026. I'm getting thrown off. Oh my goodness. Oh no. I'm about to plug in my laptop and I'm coming right back. All right, family. All right, we're good. Laptop is charged. Laptop is plugged in. And y'all, look, okay, so typically here on Speaking Success in the Morning, what we like to do is we like to get into what we had for dinner last night. All right, family. And last night, what we had the privilege of enjoying was short rib. Okay, and I was talking with my wife, but before I made the short rib a couple of nights ago, and then she said, John, before you get in there and before you start playing with that short rib, and before you cook something that we don't want to eat, don't mess it up. She said, don't mess up that short rib because I want to eat something too. I said, all right, fine. I'm gonna make the short rib. Because don't nobody want to cook nothing to where when you're sitting there at dinner with your family, don't nobody eat it. And then the next day, somebody got to cook something else. And then nobody eats it. It just stays in the corner and it ends up getting thrown away at the end of the week. Nobody wants that. Okay. Nobody wants that. And I know y'all agree with me because I just know. Okay. Long story short, I found me a good recipe for my short rib. So I put it in the Instant Pot, did a little butter, did a little thyme and other Italian seasonings. Okay. And then did some broth and then let that thing cook for like 35 minutes. Ooh. I'm not Mr. I'm not Mr. Tender, fall off the bone. But that thing fell off the bone. You understand me? After I got done cooking, thing fell off the bone. My wife walked out the room. She said, what's that? That smells good. I said, oh yeah. We in there. We in there now. We in there. So family, we had short rib for dinner last night with some sweet potatoes. And it was just a solid meal. And my wife makes this dope salad. It's where it's a mixture of, I believe, some kale and some apples and some black girl magic. Long story short, it was just delicious. Okay, so we had a good meal last night. So family, glad to have y'all here with us this morning, rocking with us this morning here on Speak Your Success. I'm your host. My name is Jonathan Jones. And family, this episode today is brought to you by Get Paid with Podcasting. This is the only podcast program to where you not only get access to a community, you get access to a course and a program to help you start your podcast, to help you get that thing going. In the first 7 days is on us. Okay, so go to getpaidwithpodcasting.com to where you can learn how to be an authority, leverage that authority to where ultimately you can not only generate income, but you can have the notoriety in your niche to where you can own that area. Okay, so now, y'all, without further ado, I want to go ahead and transition. We're going to go ahead and get ready to hop into Straight from the Source. And this is one of my favorite segments because here on the show, we always focus on education, entertainment, and empowerment. And now we're about to go ahead and get into this empowerment here with Straight from the Source. And I want to roll this clip from Miss Priscilla Shire because she does a great job in really breaking down this word. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Straight from the Source. Go ahead, get into Straight from the Source. And here we go.
Understand that if we are not careful, y'all, we will be blinded by lower level pursuits that keep us from seeing the main thing that it is that God has called us to do. So there's nothing wrong with the generational wealth or with the business that you want to begin or the real estate properties that you want to purchase or the success that may be coming your way that the Lord may entrust to you. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But if it becomes your primary pursuit, it will blind you so that you and I never reach the full capability and potential that He has called us to. So as God's people, we march to an entirely different drum beat. We keep Matthew 6:33 squarely in our minds, which says that we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these other things will be added unto us.
Shout out to Life Surge and shout out to Priscilla Shire. Okay. So she was hitting on this verse right here, Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom and all his righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. They'll be added to you. Right. And this is one of those things to where at times, if we're not careful, we'll feel torn. We'll be like, I love God, but I'm still trying to get X, right? I love God, but I'm still trying to get Y. And I love how she really got into this text, but I want to actually go back a verse or two. And this verse is Matthew 6:24. And Matthew 6:24 reads, no one, okay, no one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. And I know hearing that verse, a lot of times it's easy just to go to the extreme, one way, or to the extreme the other way. But the fact of the matter is this: I want to give some context around this particular verse. I want to break this down a little bit more. So, what's getting talked about here is undivided loyalty, right? So the core message is God is requiring the total commitment. And serving two masters is ultimately impossible because the demands ultimately will conflict, right? Just think of back in the day, and I know this might be a little bit graphic, but think of back in the day when they would have a horse on this side and a horse on this side, and then something is getting pulled in between. Eventually, what's getting pulled will separate. And then a piece of it's going to go to one side and a piece of it's going to go to the other side. So if we want to remain whole, we have to make a decision to side one way or the other. And the thing that I want to also break down is one of the focuses is that when we can't serve two masters, it's saying that if we're serving God, right? But then something supersedes that demand, something supersedes that desire, something supersedes or gets in the way of us having relationship with God. What does that mean? Then that thing instantly becomes an idol. And I know it's tough to hear because it's tough for me to even say, but when we know and understand that if there's only one true living God, he's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, our provider, our protector, our keeper, our helper, everything. Then anything that gets in the way of him is problematic. But the verse ultimately forces a choice between God or chasing after money, because a person will ultimately be most devoted to one and despise the other. I'll make it plain. There have been times for me to where I had to make certain decisions if it was going to be God or if it was going to be me getting a check. And ultimately, sometimes me choosing God will look like, well, I need to be spending time with my family here instead of going and doing XYZ, right? And why is that? It's because this is my first ministry, right? Even on a smaller scale. If I'm tucking my son in for bed and it's early and I'm ready to get out so I can go do something in my business, so I go do something and work on whatever else for me, right? Selfishly for me. And then my son says, Daddy, can you read me a Bible story? Dad, can you read me the story of David and Goliath? And then in that moment, I'll be like, because now this is me saying, I have a choice to make. God, you have given me two sons, not one, but two. You've given my wife and I two sons. Am I going to honor you by taking this time and by reading to my son, reading the word to my son, which is more important than anything else, right? Like outside of my wife and outside of nurturing, pouring into her and us having time, like reading this story to him, is it more important than that? No, no. So ultimately, as God is calling for us to prioritize his kingdom and suggesting that when we ultimately know and make God the master of our lives, then he'll have our heart. And then when he has our heart, then now it makes it easier to view money as a tool rather than worshiped as the source of our security, right? So instead of putting God above the thing, we acknowledge that God provided the thing. God gave us the thing. God created a way to where we can leverage and utilize that thing ultimately for his benefit, for the kingdom benefit, for ultimately the benefit of all. So family, that was straight from the source this morning. I wanted to share that with you because after seeing that clip, I was like, man, this is something that can be discussed, should be discussed, and should be considered. So if you're enjoying this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay tapped in with us and so that you don't ever miss an episode here on Speak Your Success in the Morning. About to go ahead and transition because y'all, today is Fun Friday. And if this is your first time rocking with us here on Fun Friday, we like to do what it said. We like to have fun, okay? We like to have fun, like to kick back, like to relax a little bit. And today I have some fun stuff I want to break down and talk about a little bit. And also, I want to just see, like, what are y'all's thoughts on some of this stuff that I've been seeing on the internet, And also, I want to, I want you to get it going in the comments. Because like I said, I want to hear from you, want to hear your thoughts, want to hear your opinions and everything like that. I saw this clip the other day and it's something going on, something happening with Dr. Pepper, y'all. And I guess they were looking for a new ad, looking for a new jingle. Shout out to Jamie Foxx, Jingles 2000. But after seeing this, I was like, oh, now that's pretty dope. Right, that's pretty dope. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna roll this clip, and then I want to hear y'all's thoughts down below in the comments.
Like this, Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice.
That's all they did.
15 minutes of fame.
That was it. 15 minutes. It was 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That Romeo posted.
That's right.
And it ended up getting 18 million likes.
No, watch.
On TikTok.
This is the commercial.
So then, Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice. Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice. Dr. Pepper, baby, is good and nice.
That's okay.
Nice.
This is
Unbelievable
amazing.
that it could just a simple thing can do something, and it's
Are
incredible.
companies actually using social media as a lab where they're looking for,
100%.
combing for ideas like this?
This is what we're always talking about. The power of your power is now in the phone. You know, Luther Vandross was a huge jingle maker.
That's right.
This woman could probably go on to do that, but she just flipped open her phone. Think about years ago as we sitting here in the sports.
Okay, so look. Here we go. So the reason why I want to bring this up is because now we're in this era of. We're in this era where people love using the word. Last year, at least, they were saying authentic. People want to hear your authentic voice, your unique voice. And this is the era of user-generated content. UGC is the acronym I've heard used for it. But when we talk about user-generated content, now brands, companies, businesses are in the place to where they no longer have to spend 20s and 15s and maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on ad space and on ads. Why? Because we can create something on our phone. We can tag this company. After we tag this company, then what are they going to do? They might send us a DM, say, hey, I would love to use that. And then run with the content. I mean, I'm not saying Romeo got paid or didn't. I don't know. I can look up those details and later inform us. But either way, now this is an amazing opportunity for a quote unquote smaller creator in comparison to a Dr. Pepper, right? To now gain some notoriety, but then even further than that, now this could open another door for her, right? This could be a career-making move, and this could be a career-altering opportunity that she got. And I'm saying that because I want you all also today, as you're going forward and you're moving and you're progressing and you're thinking like, should I do this? Should I not? If it could potentially benefit you, it could potentially benefit your brand, it could potentially benefit your life, then do it. Just like the gentleman who we saw put out a video on YouTube, and it was some years ago, and it got maybe a few hundred views, right? And then J. Cole said, I'm about to drop a new album. And then he took the audio from this man's original video, and then he put it on his new video or his teaser video. And then now the video is doing numbers because once again, a bigger brand, bigger entity like a J. Cole decided to use this man's voice and this man's content. And then now he's partnering with him in a sense. And now he's getting more notoriety and more traction. So y'all, as you're in the space and the place, and as you're thinking, should I put this out? Should I not put this out? What could this do for me? It doesn't matter. Just put it out anyway. Put it out anyway. Shout out to Kev on Stage, okay? Shout out to Kev on Stage. Kev on Stage, I've heard him say in an interview, for him, the reason why he's successful is because he goes from idea to execution like that. Idea to execution. I got an idea. Next thing you know, what do you see? You see Kev on Stage right here with the phone. And he's cranking out the content. If he's talking about somebody biscuits, if he's talking about what Drewski did, he's talking about ideas and concepts that came to his mind, and then he executing on them, okay? Idea to execution. Let that be your word in 2026, idea to execution. Anyway, y'all, it's Fun Friday, so we still rolling. We still rolling with the content. We still rolling with the content. Shout out to Romeo just for putting out that and getting discovered by Dr. Pepper. I think that's truly amazing. I think it's spectacular. Okay. I think it's spectacular. All right. I'm going to hit on a little bit of sports, and then I'm going to get into some more of these. I'm going to get into some more of these fun stories. All right. So last night in NBA action, okay, Kevin Durant led the Rockets with 28 points to get the win in a tight finish against the Chicago Bulls. All right. Trey Jones exploded for 34 with the Bulls, but you know, that wasn't enough to close that thing out. So now, like, what are our thoughts, y'all? Is Houston finally figuring out like their late game mindset, or is Chicago, they just don't, do they have the talent, but they just can't finish? Like, what's going on there? Then we also had the Timberwolves last night, 139 to the Bucks, 106. Minnesota dominated early, and they just kept on rolling. Okay, they hit a season high 22 3-pointers, and they were leading by 31 at halftime. So the game was over at halftime. Right. Randall dropped 29, Hallett dropped 23, and Reed coming out with 19. Okay. So, hey, are the Wolves getting back fired up? What are we talking about? What's happening? And then NCAA men's basketball action, Florida 96 to Oklahoma 79. The Gators pulled away early, and Thomas Hod had 15. And then also there was 19 and 12 from Cholula. And Florida cruised past Oklahoma, outscoring them 60 to 22. Okay, this is crazy. This is crazy. Some of these scores, they just rolling on them, and they're not playing. Okay, not playing at all. Not playing at all. Now I want to go ahead and roll into the other content that I had and want to share, and I'm really excited about this. So as we're still talking sports, something that has happened recently, and shout out to Miss Trinity Rodman. Okay, she becomes the highest paid women's player in soccer history. Big deal, big deal, big deal. So she said she's staying in DC, and ultimately she just resetting the market. The 2021 NWSL champion and 2024 Olympic gold medalist, who formerly signed a new three-year multi-million-dollar contract that includes a reported $1 million annual salary, making her the highest paid women's soccer player in the world, according to her agent. And that deal is going to keep Rodman with the Washington Spirit through 2028 and sets a new pay ceiling in the National Women's Soccer League. And this is phenomenal, right? This is phenomenal because if she sets the ceiling, now this is another opportunity for somebody else to come along, and then they're going to want to be the highest paid women's soccer player, which I think is great because now this is going to ultimately elevate the bread that got to be broke off. You understand me? So shout out to her. I think that's dope and amazing news. Also, y'all, we're not talking sports, but did anybody else see this? Has anybody else seen it? Barney, right? You know the classic, I love you, you love Barney, okay? What about Barney, John? Talk to us. So a live action Barney movie is in development. This was from Mattel. From Mattel Films, A24, and Daniel Kaluuya's 59% Productions. With Emmy Award winner Io Idibur attached to write the screenplay and potentially star. The project is described as an adult-oriented, surrealistic, surrealistic take on the purple dinosaur that focuses on nostalgia and navigating life rather than traditional children reboot. Okay, here are a few key details about the project. The production team, the film produced, like I said, Mattel Films, A24, and 59% Productions, with Daniel Kaluuya and Rowan Riley and also Robbie Brenner overseeing the project. This is not going to be, this is not a direct child-focused reboot, but a thoughtful reimagining that explores the emotional impact of the character on the generation that grew up with him. Okay, so this is looking good. That's gonna be cool. That's gonna be cool. And then, y'all, I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to just wrap it up right here because I'm excited. Okay, y'all know me personally. Anytime it comes to talking about podcasts and specifically athletes who have podcasts, who host podcasts, who desire to be podcasters, I'm ecstatic. Why, John? Because they get to control the narrative. What are you saying? So often throughout the media, years and years ago, many times the interviewer, the reporter, the host, whomever it might be, they have the decision, the power, and the ability to interview athletes, cut up clips, and then make the stories seem like something that they never were. Make the athletes be painted in negative lights. Make these individuals be portrayed as certain images. And I'm saying that because last night I was watching the Allen Iverson documentary on Prime. And as I was listening to AI sit there and talk with his dad and his mom and just hearing the way that he got the opportunity to tell the story, his family got the opportunity to tell his story. It was him telling it however he wanted to, right? There were previous documentaries I've seen other ways that might have come off a little bit more scripted and even a little bit more polished in the sense of how they were sharing the story, like just straightforward. But no, AI was telling the story of how he grew up and how kids were trying to beat him up because, you know, he was hooping and then a guy's girl wanted him type deal. But the point that I want to make is it's now being the athlete-led IP is now shifting in a spot in the space to where they get to control that story. And also I saw last night that the executive producers, or at least two of the executive producers of the Allen Iverson docuseries, one was Shaquille O'Neal, one was Steph Curry. And it was put out under unanimous promotions, I believe. Unanimous Productions is the name of Steph Curry's production company. So now this is athlete-led IP, athlete storytelling from former athletes, from guys and young men and women who have done it before. And now we're seeing this with T-Mac and Tracy McGrady. Not T-Mac and Vince Carter. Oh my goodness. T-Mac and Tracy McGrady are clearly the same person. And I remember growing up watching Vince Carter hoop with the Toronto Raptors and seeing him dunk and put his whole elbow in the rim. And I remember seeing T-Mac go out there and just get buckets for the Raptors and even with the Magic. But this is so important now because these athletes are understanding their value, they're understanding their IP, and they're wanting to create their story and tell their story and share this with the masses. But the other part is that by them coming into this as former players, former athletes, there's a whole generation under them who they can inspire, who they can fire up, who they can encourage. And as I'm saying this, here's my take. Well, let me roll the clip. Let me roll the clip so y'all can see the promo of Cousins with Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady. Let me roll the clip, and I'm gonna share my thoughts right after this. Well, okay. As I'm gonna cue the clip up, let me actually cue the clip up. And what I actually want to say, for them and for this clip is that the part that I think is so pressing and so important. Well, here we go. All right, y'all. Here we go. We got the clip. And let's go ahead and roll that thing.
The last thing I thought I would be doing, and this guy would be doing, is a podcast.
We're going to talk basketball in its truest form. We're going to talk about life in its truest form. Everybody's always talking about which is the golden era. You know, it's cool. I got to play in all of them.
It definitely separated the men from the boys. I'm telling you, when we was on the court together, it's just, I always got to try to one-up you.
When we talk basketball, I want to go really in depth and talk the game of basketball, what it is today.
Whether it's sports, music, fashion, kids, you name it.
We're going to sit on that couch. We're going to sit wherever we at. Wherever I sit, we're going to talk. We're going to have fun doing it.
There you have it.
Subscribe.
All right. So there it is. Cousins, Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady. So here's my take. Athletes now, they got it backwards. Okay. They got it backwards. Okay. Shout out to Fred Taylor. Shout out to Channing Crowder. Shout out to Ryan Clark. Shout out to Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady. Shout out to Shannon Sharp, Brandon Marshall, Michael Irvin. We can go down the list. Jeff Teague, B. Hen, the 520 Pod, all them. Cam Newton. Okay. Peggy, 4th and 1, Funky Friday. The athletes got it backwards. John, what? They got it backwards because they should have been starting a podcast while they were in college, while they were on their ascension, while they were rising. Did they even know about this? Was that even a thing back then? Not really, y'all. Not really. However, we know what we know now. So if we know better, now we got to do better. So what am I saying? If you're an athlete, if you're a former athlete, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, and you know that you have something to say and you want to begin to build that notoriety, right? Because people, here's the deal. Starting a podcast is not and has never been about you just having a podcast. It's about you having an ecosystem and about you ultimately having the ability to garner information from your audience. You can know who your audience is. You can know where your audience is listening from. You can know what they like, what they don't like. You can know where they're located. And having this information is extremely valuable. The podcast part is great because it allows you to capture a massive amount of information. But then what you do with that information is in the question. Y'all, hey, I'm Jonathan Jones. I'm your podcast mentor, and I've been saying it over the years that athletes need to have more podcasts, and specifically student athletes need to have more podcasts. But look, here's the deal. If you don't know how to do that, or you're trying to figure out how to do that, hey, just send me a DM at Jonathan Jones Speaks, and I'll help you. You can be an athlete, student athlete, former athlete, entrepreneur. It don't matter, okay? I want to help you navigate through this space, and I want to help you get clear on how you can start that podcast and really leverage it the way to where ultimately you can win. Family, we're going to go ahead and get ready to get out of here today. It was Fun Friday. It was fun. It wasn't long, but it was fun. You understand me? So that's what it's all about. But I want you all to remember this today, okay? Remember this today. Speak your success, believe in your greatness, and continue to create the life and business of your dreams. Why would you and why should you live any other